Hi everybody, this is Blossom, and as you can see I'm just on my walk with my doggies, and we talk about the apple tree today. And I thought I'd take you with me here because the house you see there just behind, that's where I live. And when I go this short walk, I am close to an apple orchard, or I don't know how you pronounce that, I'm sorry. Yeah, and that is right where I live, with all the apple trees, and I really love it, so I thought I'd take you with. Okay, let's talk about the apple, or Quert, or Quert. I would say Quert. It's not really sure where we can find it on the tree calendar. Some sources said from September 2nd until September 29th. Others associated with Samhain, or even with the day after Beltane. So that's not really sure, but to be honest, it doesn't matter because it's a modern concept. And it's not really important with all those things, you know. Also, well, the letter is Q, that's for sure. The animals associated with it is unicorn or hen. The colors are green, yellow, green, or pink. There's no flower association. Yeah, and that's it. As I say, also when you associate the colors with it, it's a bit more about what fits for you. Okay, I'm not going to do all the video right now, so I will see you probably tomorrow again. So, and I'm back, and I invite you to take a seat with me here. And it's a bit windier than I expected, so I will talk you through, and later if it's too windy and the sound is bad, I will have to do a voiceover. Okay, and it is too windy, so I will do the voiceover here now. So, for the lore and legend, apple is one of the 7 chieftain trees. The letter Q for Quert or Quert is non-existent in Old Irish, but it has been interpreted as referring to the Old Irish word cecht or rag as a reference to wandering lunatics, and this is a recurring motive in Celtic myth. Another association would be with the word cu or cu, meaning wolf or hound, a synonym for warrior. Both of these in this context refer to the individual's ability to face death, physically or psychologically, and gain entry to the other world or altered states of consciousness before returning as a fully able being with new insight. This connects the apple with the Cailleach, or something like that, the old veiled one, the goddess as crone in whose hands the human soul is taken from the world to return again renewed. One of her symbols is the 5-pointed star, the pentagram, which can be seen in the apple when cut in half, a testimony of the apple's profound magical nature. Another clue to its magical nature is that it is said that unicorns are wandering beneath the apple trees. The apple is referred as shelter of lunatics. Lunatics, like cow and swineherds in Celtic literature, occupy a mystical position as they are often shapeshifters and beings of power, responsible for the protection of a tribe's wealth. In the tale of the Tyne, I'm not sure about that, but as you know, I write it down, we are told the story of 2 pig keepers who fight each other. The battling swineherds Friuch and Rucht argued and changed into many forms during their fight. Birds, stags, phantoms, and dragons. Yay for dragons! They have casted wicked spell on each other, but neither was able to harm the other. So, and there is a lot going on in the story, but finally they settled as the famed brown and white bull. This links to the shamanic divine lunacy,
that led individuals to live alone in the forest, tuning into the energies of the green world and shunning most human interaction. And I'm sure some will understand that. So, there are many such characters in the old stories, such as Myrddin and the Scottish Lailochen, who often carried apple branches as symbols of their passage through the other world. This is the silver branch, or the silver bough, featured in many myths, the branch often bearing apples, blossoms, and leaves at the same time, in addition to silver bells. The branch made sweet music that heals and soothed all who heard it. Magically, it aids perception of all kinds. It's linked with madness, revealing how our notions of reality are mutable projections. To have these notions, change can induce a crisis, but they are sometimes able to leave us with a broader sense of the world than before. But yeah, it can drive us mad. To step outside ordinary consciousness may also mean stepping outside of society and losing the respect and protection it affords. Even if we say now, society is weg. You hear that a lot. But of course it gives you a certain protection, because try to survive without it, like really being on your own. And there we see the path of a lunatic and the path of the visionary may be equally lonely and hard. Yet the traveler is able to draw from the well of spirit and receive nourishment from its otherworldly source. Now, apples are also associated with immortality and otherworldly paradise, and they are a symbol of wholeness and vision, reminding us of our divine natures and our perfection in the eyes of the gods. They are also associated with the magical Isle of Avalon, of course, the Isle of Apples. It is an otherworldly place of healing and renewal, where souls come back to wholeness by the grace of the goddess, who gives to all, regardless of their status or worthiness. And this is another aspect of the apple, its connection with giving, and as a heal all, the promise that all, no matter how lost or wounded, can achieve healing. Otherwise, apples were also important to the Norse gods, who remained eternally young and energetic, thanks to the apple kept in a chest by Idun, the goddess of youth and renewal. Our ultimate protection is inherent in the apple, the promise that our divine infinite nature can never truly be harmed or endangered, and we are all of equal value to the goddess. Sadly, exactly these positive aspects were turned on their head in the Old Testament, where apples became associated with sin, shame, and lust, the forbidden tree of knowledge. Its connections with vitality, pleasure, and otherworldly delight changed to a more fearful view. But I think we go back again to, really appreciate the apple for what it is. For nowadays, so in the English West Country, there are two festivals honoring the apple. One is called Apple Day, very simple, and this is celebrated when the fruit is falling ripe from the tree. And the other day is the tradition of wassailing, held at numerous dates in December and January, when the apple trees are fed with hot cider and drums are beaten to thank the apple spirits and cleanse the orchards of negative energies. And traditionally, at the apple harvest, the last apple is always left on the tree for the apple man, the tree spirit who blessed the apple harvest for the following year. And I still learn that from gardeners nowadays, so this is not something, this is still, people still do that, and I do that as well. Okay, let's move on to the magical uses. So the wood of the apple tree is wonderful to make wands, especially for healing and love spells. And as we prune our apple trees more often, because that's the way they stay young and they produce more apples, so you prune them, and there you will have the possibility to have enough wood to make wands. So both the fruit and the blossom are used to symbolize love, beauty, and immortality. You can use them in incenses, perfumes, or mix it with beeswax to make your own candles for love and healing spells. And the blossoms are also used in love pouches or love sachets. One spell is, for example, or one practice that they did in the old times, and you can still do today, to ensure happiness in your relationship. Cut an apple in half and share it with your loved ones. Another spell with an apple, for example, is to carve yours and your lover's initials into an apple and bury it. Should a tree grow in that spot, your love is said to be especially blessed. Apples are also used in divination, and there are various methods for that. So if you look that up, you can find many methods. For example, if a girl has more than one potential lover, peel an apple and pull out the seeds. Place a wet seed on your cheek for each boyfriend. The last one left stuck to the skin represents the suitor who is the true love. So if you have to choose from many boys. Or you could throw apple peel over your left shoulder to see if it forms a person's initial. Or as Samhain approaches now, so there's also a ritual to eat an apple at Samhain whilst looking into a mirror, and there it is said you will see the person you are to marry over your shoulder. Honestly, that's a bit spooky. But however, in Germany it was tradition to pour the water from a newborn's baby's bath over the roots of an apple tree to grant the child good health, attractiveness, and fertility. In general, the apple tree spirits are very friendly and protective, and especially towards children. And it is excellent to take a troubled child to spend time in an orchard. And I remember that I actually did spend a lot of time in orchards, and we went, apple picking a lot. So when you have the child in an orchard, the tree spirits will send the child good dreams and healing sleep. Apples were also used in Anglo-Saxon sympathic magic. A holy name was written on the apple, which would be eaten on 3 consecutive days. The apple would then cure all illness in the person, physical, mental, or emotional. Apple wood is also good for carving Ogham or other sigils. So if you can't find the right wood for the Ogham you want to carve, you can use apple wood instead. Or if you have your own sigils or whatever, apple is really great to use to carve these things in. Now, the silver branch that we talked before, or the silver bow, adorned with bells or flowers, makes a very powerful magical tool for use with tree spirits and gaining entry to the other world. It is an especially good tool for otherworld journeying, where it can aid clear vision and effective navigation. The apple is also considered one of the foods of the dead, so they are often piled high on Samhain altars. For Samhain is sometimes known as the Feast of Apples. And I'm doing another video right now about Samhain, and I think I talk about how you can, offer apples for Samhain. I talk about that in the other video, so go check that out when that will come up. I'm doing too many videos at the same time. Now, another thing, since apples were symbols of Avalon, capturing one from the water represented crossing the Holy Isle. Alright, and the next part is about healing. So, apples are associated with cleansing and purification. Eating an unripe apple is good for curing diarrhea, whilst eating whole ripe apple is helpful as a gentle laxative. But, some of you may know or experience that when you drink a lot of apple juice or cider, be careful there. Apple wine was a well-respected cure-all in the ancient world, but it needs to be at least a year old. Apples are a good source of iron, vitamins A and E, and they also heal the skin when boiled and then mixed with fat and rose water. And there are really many other health benefits with apple cider and cider vinegar, but I will focus more on the vibrational essence. So, as a vibrational essence, apple can help to remove negative or unclean energies. It heals self-disgust, shame, fears of contamination, and poor body image. And I think many people struggle with that, having a poor body image. So there you could really use an vibrational essence of apple to help you with that. It is an excellent energetic cleanser, good for people who are very sensitive to toxic vibrations of all kinds. It can also be used on animals for fleas and plants for mildew or green fly infestations. So maybe if there are gardeners outside, maybe interesting to know. Apple essence can also be used for soothing and gaining perspective and vision. It also heals sexual issues and connects to otherworldly energies, especially through dreams and healing sleep. As we saw before with, that the apple helps children to sleep better and to give them good dreams. It also aids in transition between the other world, which is good for those suffering from burnout resulting from demanding psychic or magical work. So everybody who is a tarot reader, and we tap a lot into, higher spheres, or, not just tarot reader, but everybody who works spiritually. And we often do a lot and we give a lot and we don't take enough. So I think many of us are guilty of that. And so it helps you to take better care of yourself. And I think that's really important. And so apple is really good for us all. Okay, and now the last part about the divination. So in general, as an Ogham, Quert works with the connection between body, mind and spirit, aiding the seeker in the quest for wholeness. It suggests in operating from right action, coming from an inner sense of wholeness and returning to wholeness. So when you get it in a reading, in divination, it suggests that right action can be found when acting from a sense of vision and goodness, kindness to the self and others, as well as generosity and compassion, as they are timeless heal-alls that lead the soul to wisdom. It can also suggest that it is necessary to make a choice. It is time to stop procrastinating, and you may end up with nothing at all. So it represents a choice of beauty, the beauty of life and usefulness, instead of, thinking everything over and over and over again. Make the choice to live. Otherwise, it can also tell you to rest and heal yourself from strife, illness, fatigue, or injury. It is an invitation to regain your connection with nature. Associated with the Holy Isle of Avalon, the apple represents rest and healing, recovery, and a peaceful, relaxing, otherworld journey to the magical isle. The apple is associated with the Lady of the Lake, a mystical fairy who taught the healing arts to mortals. Apple may also signify that you have the ability to heal others and point out a pathway of learning for you. So then you could just, pull another Ogham to see where it leads you. Pulling the apple stave, you are invited to work with the divine madness of the shaman. I love that so much. It calls you to journey to the other worlds by its many names: Avalon, Avalach, Tirnanok, and so on. Apples also represents the spiritual warrior who fears not to travel beyond the mortal realm to face death, sacrifice, and hardship in order to benefit his or her tribe. The apple represents shelter and protection on these intense shamanic journeys. In modern terms, apple invites you to dare to be different in order to discover your own truth. The apple offers protection, strength, comfort, and respite for your ordeal. So now you can see, and this is with every Ogham and with every time I go into the divination part, there are many, many layers how you can interpretate, when you get it in a reading. And that's why I think it's so important to get familiar with the lore and legend around the trees. And it really depends, because I am focusing now on the Celtic lore and legend, but you have also lore and legend around the tree from everywhere around the world. So because it is a Celtic system, I'm focusing on the Celtic now. But as you do your research, you will find much more. And then, as you have all that lore and legend, then it is also important to have this personal connection. So, for example, for me, on what I focus when I get, for example, now apple in a reading, is the feeling of rest and harmony and healing. Because as some of you may know, I love Avalon. I love Glastonbury. For me, Glastonbury is Avalon. And every time I visit Glastonbury, it is a time of peaceful relaxation, and it's rest and it's harmony. And we stay at a very, very cool house there mostly when we're there. And I have a lot of troubles to sleep, but there it is no problem. I sleep 8-9 hours there, with no problem. And so the apple, as I see the apple like that, and I know how it is to wander around in the orchard of Avalon, so in Glastonbury, just at the tour, and how peaceful that is. I take this experience with me in the reading when I get apple in a reading, and that you should do that as well in all of your readings, instead of just going by keywords that I give, or make your own experience. How does apple tree feel for you? Do you see it more as healing, or do you see it, I want to be different? I dare to be different in order to find my own truth, or I will face death and sacrifice and hardship in order to benefit my tribe. What is really the core for you? And I think you should do that, with every tree. And that's why I think it's so important to have the whole lore and legend part behind as well, and really experience the tree for yourself. So I hope that was okay and that this was helpful. And as always, you can find all the whole text for this Ogham on my homepage. I will put the link below. And thank you so much for watching. Much love and blessings, and bye bye.